Hi, my beautiful angels, and welcome to another day of Soul Healing Summit 1. Today, we have a very special guest, Brenda, who is a Reiki Master and a member of the Canadian Reiki Association. Brenda has worked for over 20 years in the corporate sector, bringing energy work to the office environment. Brenda has been practicing energy healing for over 10 years, offering different holistic ways, holding the space to promote healing on a physical, mental, and emotional levels, fostering that self love, reconnection, and clarity to who you are. Today, Brenda will be sharing with us the method that truly saved her life, the beam therapy. I'm very grateful to have you today. Welcome, Brenda.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a pleasure to talk about beam therapy. So, although I do a lot of different modalities or just mix it up when I'm working with a client, I like the fact that I hold true to the beam therapy process. And I only do that in honor of Dr. Joan Beattie, who saved my life. This is her baby. And just very quick history of how she came about it. She was a flying doctor in Africa in her 30s. I don't know her age yet. She looks young, but I'm guessing she's close to her 80s somewhere. And when she was working in Africa, she started hearing voices, and that was weird for a medical doctor, so she ignored them. She then went to swim with whales, and an animal communicator told her she was going to develop a process that was going to help many people. When she went back to Africa, she paid attention to those voices and wrote down this process, has practiced it and fine-tuned it. And she actually brought it into Toronto, where she works as a medical doctor, but did beam therapy on some days for clients with great success. I fell into her hands by, I believe, a leap of faith, asking the universe for help as I was not in a good place, and beam therapy was brought to my attention. Beam therapy is a very simple but very powerful process. And it actually stands for the bioenergetic emotional access method. It's quite simple, but really very powerful because it is going to the subconscious where we have patterns of behavior, traumas, past life issues, everything and anything that we can think of what could be affecting us hides in the subconscious, and it plays a background role in our life. If you're like me, I was always trying to get here, and every time I got close, that just seemed further away because I was always thrown off track. It didn't make sense because my heart was in the right place. And when I started to really understand what was hiding in the background was controlling a lot of the things that were happening in my life. With beam therapy, in just 5 sessions, huge changes started to happen. Now, we don't really put anyone on a program on how many sessions you need, but it is not a one-time miracle. It is layer by layer releasing what is ready to release. And I'd like to give kind of an idea of how it happens and kind of what's happening in a session. The beauty of it, if you're into energy work and you have that openness, the shifting of energies can really happen quite quickly. Men seem to get better quicker than females, and that's probably very easy to understand because men don't remember everything. They're very good to let things go. So there's like peeling an onion. Whereas when you're working with a woman, we're like the inside of a golf ball, very entangled. This memory reminds you of this memory, and we hold everything. So when you're unraveling, females tend to take longer to let things go than males. Another thing that affects the process of healing is, what was your childhood like? From ages 0 in your mom's tummy to the age of 7 years old. That is where your deprogramming, that CD-ROM, was programmed. So if you think back, and a lot of us don't even remember 7 and before because it was that traumatic. Well, that's usually a sign that there's going to be more sessions as we unravel that deep subconscious programming that affects who we are. So I had the two, female and a pretty traumatic first 7 years. So I had a lot of sessions, but at first I was not very trusting of the process. I fell into her lap in a very bad place, very numb to any emotions. And I used to tell her, I don't feel anything that you're doing. She says, Brenda, just be patient because there's magic happening in your quantum field. And one day I woke up with a sense of peace and self-love and a different realization that I never felt in my entire life. I was so excited. I then started telling everyone, I don't know who I am, but it feels fabulous. Probably everyone thought I lost my mind, but that's when my journey of self-healing and this love of finding what makes me tick, how are we affected by all these things that have happened to us willingly or unwillingly, unconsciously and consciously. And that's where I start to pick apart me. But along my journey, I started to have my guinea pigs, coworkers, friends, family, who would allow me to use beam therapy on them. Seeing the magic happen with them and myself as I was being treated opened up my eyes to energy work and these beautiful, magical techniques. And it's not just beam therapy. There are many beautiful techniques. So if beam therapy is something that resonates with you, go for it. But it's not for everyone. It doesn't look big changes. So I find anyone who gets attracted to the work is ready. And I'm just going to show a little quick picture here. I'll just show this here. So really what I'm showing here is a diamond. And in the diamond, we have layers. That diamond is you. You are already perfect, magnificent being. We all are. We're connected to God. We have our God source. I would say we are God in our physical form. And what we're doing with beam therapy is just taking away the resistance, the self-esteem issues, the lack of love for ourselves, the lack of self-respect, the programs, all those things that our culture puts on us, our upbringing puts on us, what sex we are, all those things affect who we are, but it's not who we truly are. So as you start to peel a layer away, you start to feel that excitement because really what we're doing is shining your authentic self out. Now, how does the beam therapy session work? It's simple. It can be done in person. It can be done online. Very effective either way. The person would just sit across from the practitioner. Now, every practitioner brings in their own gifts. Although sometimes I want to veer away, sometimes I will add a little bit of difference in beam therapy, but the actual process is what Dr. Beattie has taught me. The process itself uses 10 phrases, and we will ask your higher self what phrases to use. So there's just the list. First one starting with, say, physical trauma, but it includes things like self-esteem, criticism and judgment, physical abuse, sexual abuse, had to please programs, control, resentment, things like that. So we start with the top one, say physical trauma. We then ask your higher self, do we have permission to use this phrase? If we get a yes, then we use it. If we don't get a yes, that just means the energy, the issues, the traumas that are associated with that are going to be pulled under a different phrase. When you prepare yourself for a beam therapy session, you're not doing it mentally. You're saying yes to the appointment, but it's your higher self that prepares you. So many clients, including myself, might feel really icky for 1 to 2 days before a session. Why? Because your higher self is now going through your current life, all the way back through your lifetime to when you were a baby and then beyond. And it's picking out different issues, different events, different belief systems, different traumas, and it's creating this icky layer. As that icky layer starts to come up as you're getting ready for this session, you're having old memories, you're feeling anxious, you're emotional. It's not the funnest feeling. Some of us really get into the ickiness of it. Some people feel lighter as it's developing. So we're all very different how we prepare. The neat thing is this layer that's created has like 1,000 things in it. I can't even express what's in there because it might be 2% of a trauma you had at 2 years old, 5% of a trauma at this time, 4% of this, 100% of this issue, but it's all kind of mixed together. So when a client comes into the office or works with me, the first thing you see is this icky cloud around them. It's like, oh, wow, we have a big doozy to let go. And usually the layer is quite thick and ready to release. But the interesting thing is that layer kind of has even a consciousness to it, and it's angry that's going to be pulled out. So usually it's telling me it's stuff and whatever, but I just ignore it knowing the layer is going to pull out with the assistance of love and light. So it leaves actually quite easily, although a little bit discomfort for some people. So as the process starts, Some people might feel a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of emotion, sometimes pressure in the chest, dizziness, nausea. It really depends. It's a unique process for each individual. But knowing that you are completely surrounded with beings of light. And my job really is to be the conduit. And how does that happen? I've been doing this for a long time and I didn't really understand. I always get told, you don't need to understand, just get out of the way. And that's really what I do. I actually move myself out of the way. And then these beings of light come in and they work with your higher self and magic happens. As the process starts, so let's go into the simple process. The process would be, say, physical trauma. We're starting with that. What is physical trauma? It could be dealing with illnesses, accidents, worrying about people being sick, worrying about yourself being sick, worrying about the world, all this stuff about COVID. So it's current stuff, but it's going all the way back and collecting whatever needs to be released. So the process starts like this, very simple. A client would just be holding one hand on their heart chakra, just in the middle of the chest. The other one would be on top of the head. And that's the starting. The person would then close their eyes and we would start as physical trauma. As that's processing, the actual cell memories that are held in this area start to release very gently. Some people feel it, some people don't feel it. Beam therapy is actually done on a one-on-one basis. So although you might actually get some relief, when we're working with beam therapy, it has to be done with one-on-one because we're dealing with your spiritual DNA, your issues. So it's a one-on-one method. The beauty of beam therapy is children, sometimes you're working with someone and their children's higher selves will come into the room saying, hey, I want to join. And we will gladly allow them to join because the parent shares spiritual DNA with the children. Sometimes we can have a child come in who needs help and the parents participate and they can have a beam therapy together. So you can do that with that connection of mother and child or a child and the father. That works, or siblings.
I have a question. How is this, because you're saying you're doing this 101, how is this different than Reiki?
I'm going to explain how I see the two together because my welcome session actually gives a beam therapy and a Reiki session. They are different. Let's just say we have someone coming in with cancer. I've seen them, Reiki gets people better. Stage 4 cancer goes away. But if they don't go to the issues of why they got sick, then what happens is that same person may have a reoccurrence. I'll see them in a few years again with the same issue, might be somewhere else. But when they couple the treatments, the Reiki treatments with the beam therapy starts to change their thought patterns, their self-love increases. Those traumas are releasing that whole shift. And then what happens is because their life changes, their thought process changes, they don't get the reoccurrence. I've been doing this a long enough time to see clients that get the beam therapy and the Reiki don't have the reoccurrence. If I had to say what the difference is, it's almost like the beings of light that come in to do a Reiki session with me are different than the beings of light that come in to do the beam therapy. It's almost like they're specialists.
Is it safe to assume, just from what I'm understanding, that when you do Reiki, that's more like channeling that light energy, the angelic energy, working on the etheric body? And is beam therapy more on a physical and mental body? Would that be safe to assume?
You're right in how it's channeled because when I am, say, performing a Reiki session, that energy is coming through me and out through all of my body. Yes. When we're having a beam therapy session, I am almost moving out of the way. Beings of light seem to fill the room and they're working with the person's side of doing other things. And it's like, I can't explain what they're doing. It doesn't make sense to my mental mind, but they're working at a different level. So it could be they're working at that the mental layer and things like that. But I also feel they're working on the emotional body as well, because there's a lot of emotions that were suppressed that are starting to really release. Some people, mainly men, 1 or 2 sessions and they don't come back. They're like, Brenda, I feel so fabulous. Women, again, for some reason, there's a little more work because we're such more
complicated creatures.
Yeah. And I've been getting work done. I work on myself for the last 13 years. and I feel better than ever before, but I still know there's more. Interestingly, someone many years ago told me, you'll know when you're all good, Brenda, when you're physically healthy, your relationships are good, and your finances are good. I started to cry. I'm like, all those are a mess. What are you talking about? So I was going to give up, but there was something in my heart that always said, no, don't give up. And I think sometimes we have these tough journeys so we can come on the other side of them and say, never give up on yourself. Because yes, we have ups and downs, but the downs get less often and less deep, right? But we're human and we live in this duality. So of course we're going to be affected unless we're always in that 5D higher perspective. But staying in there is a beautiful place to be. But I know I can't keep it up all the time because I still have triggers that might pull me into this 3D world. I really have to reconnect and consciously elevate back up.
One thing that I love and admire about you is that you've been on this journey, you've been helping people for so many years, yet you were the first to admit, you're like, oh, I just had a week and I just dealt with that and I dealt with that. Like you share the troubles and turmoils they were going through, because even when you're on this journey, when you do it all the time, it's like some people think like, oh, I did this session, I did this session, like I should be here. Our human system nature is to get somewhere, to arrive to a goal and be done. And the fact that it matters that the soul healing journey, it is that, is a continuous journey. And every time you go through things, you turn around, you're like, this is what happened, this is what I did, and this is the solution. And it's very important because at times when we go on this journey, we assume that we have to be perfect at everything, that we have to have it all figured out. And the truth of the matter is, as we're helping ourselves, we're helping others. And that's what a lot of this healing work is. And I love that, like, you speak that into existence. You're like, yep, I just had a week dealt with that. And there's this coming up.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful because really when we're working with a client, we're co-creating. We're just bringing in the space and it's actually the client that's healing. It's their higher self that's doing it, but we have the pleasure of seeing it. We learn from it. And I always believe as we're bringing in this energy, we're benefiting as well. Because whenever you're sending out love, it's coming back. So maybe I'm addicted to the healing because I love seeing people feel better, but I get this buzz and I'm just like so grateful and happy that I just got to do that, you know? And it's like, thank you. I'm feeling it well. So I always thank my clients for coming in because I benefited as much as they did.
Absolutely. Could you use beam therapy to remove entity from somebody else's field or even the body?
Okay, so Dr. Beattie believes that beam therapy can be used for any sort of issue. I believe when you bring in this light, this beautiful light that loves us, that entities do leave because I feel them leaving during beam therapy. I also feel them leaving during Reiki. And sometimes I do special sessions when we know that's the issue and we do something called the detrimental protocol. And that's what it's focused. And you can feel them leaving as that. It's very interesting because I used to have fear of the dark, fear of dark things, because I saw them all my life. And it was during 2020, I had probably my biggest case. It had to do with a cult person leaving, and it triggered a lot of scary feelings inside. And it was such a beautiful session. There was this being that was being pulled out of this girl's field. And it was the scariest thing that would have scared me. I didn't like it at all. Red eyes, just think of the most horrendous thing. Well, Archangel Michael came in with these beautiful beings of light and started working with it. And it is up to those beings. They can either leave willingly or unwillingly. And it's not up to me to decide. I leave it all up to the powers that be. There was this conversation between them and they showed it to me. And I think they showed it to me as a learning lesson that anything dark can transmute back to light. Well, they're working with this being and the being cut its cord to the darkness. It said yes to the love. And it went from this hideous thing to this most miraculous, beautiful white being that grew wings. And it left with Archangel Michael. As it left, it winked at me. And again, that could just be my brain interpreting what was going on for my learning. But as of that day, I decided that everything is of God. and some are just far removed. So there's nothing to be fearful of. So when we are pulling out entities or dark interference from someone's field, we're doing it in a loving way. There's never any, it always feels just so beautiful as it's happening. But the people feel a big shift. And those dark interferences can actually interfere and cause the addictions. And those addictions just go away but I'm not saying they do in every session, but sometimes we're lucky. We're just at that layer that's ready to lift. And all of a sudden that person has a 180 switch. And then there's other people that come, they're getting better and better. And it might not be me that does that last switch. They may go somewhere else or do another modality. And they're just at that level where they're ready to do a switch. So it's not about, when we do this work, it's not about, wanting to make sure someone has a switch. We're just holding the space to help them release what they need to release at that time, or whatever is safe to release.
What is the ideal person that you love to work with? The ideal person that you attract that is like, you know what, like I know what to do in this case?
Well, the first thing is anyone who's attracted to me is usually in for big change. Otherwise, they will not, because what I'll notice is they'll introduce me to someone and those people won't come. And if someone's attracted to my work, it's because they're attracted to that change that can happen. But where it comes in, I love working with teenagers, because kids nowadays are going through so much with everything that's been going on. So they are accumulating so much darkness. They don't understand why they're feeling depressed. They don't feel the anxiety. And generally, usually just one session just gives them that peaceful feeling, like, what is that? And then they'll come back again. So the other thing is the openness. I would say there's a lot of women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that just feel like I'm missing something. I've been catering to everyone all my life, my kids, now I want to do something for me. And they come in with excitement saying, I don't know what to expect. Let's just do this. I love them. But I also love working with men, because men are a little more skeptical, but they somehow switch so much quicker. And I always tell them, I'm actually envious that you're a man, because wow, they blow my mind. So they're all ages. But if someone comes in with an open mind, I'm not here, I had a lady who brought in her husband, and he was an engineer. He sat here for 2 hours grilling me on what I do. And I told them, I am not here to win you over. I'm not here to defend my work. I'll answer your questions as honestly as I can. Anyway, he had a session. And he felt better. He goes, I can't explain it. I'm at no words to express it. And he does come once in a while, but he always gets like, I still don't get it. But we don't have to get it. That's the beauty. It's just the openness to try it, right? And I don't work with anyone who's forced to be here, because there's this resistance then. And the resistance, because we can have these things called psychological reversals, where I don't want to heal, or I don't deserve to heal. I don't want to be here. So why waste your money if you don't want to be here? Like, why waste and force someone to sit here? Because you can almost force, let's say you forced your child to come. Well, what happens is that might push your child back instead of forward. Let them come to where they need to come on their own, right? So yeah. I just try to live through experience. I have children. I try very hard not to preach what I do every day. When they feel something, I have one that picks up things all the time because his field's so open. I say, Mom, there's something in my field, you need to get rid of it. I said, you do it. Get rid of it yourself. I'm trying to teach him.
You how.
Yeah, I'll teach you. But it's just so much easier. You do it. So I don't want them to rely on me, but it's nice that they'll come for help when they feel they need it.
That's the goal. And I say that to my clients all the time. I'm like, whatever I'm helping you with, I'm going to teach you how to do it so you can take the skill and run with it so you don't have to need me again.
Yeah, that's why I always tell my clients, I am not here forever for you. Let's get you to a place that you're good. I'll teach you whatever you need or whatever I feel or what you want. Just ask and know that you are a powerful being. This is your temple. This is your soul. You can just simply say, no to dark interference. No, just leave me alone. I'm bringing the light. Just talk. There's so many different things you can do, right? So I do offer free sessions for people, teaching sessions, because the goal is when you open up someone's heart and they're holding the light, they're spreading that around and we're all in this together. If I feel I can't work with someone, I will gladly transition them over to someone else.
Can you think of an example that somebody came to you and you used the beam therapy, it created the most major miracle in their life or transformation?
Sure. I see there's a cute one that came in. This one was really sweet. So I was working with a client and she said she had abandonment issues. We started with the beam therapy. We only had 2 sessions because on the second one, it just kind of materialized on its own. So funnily, she had, sometimes I don't make people do this, but I asked them, if you want to fill out a form, you can. And on her form, I didn't even read it before, but she had a phobia or just hated the smell of donuts. So in her second session, she had a memory come up where she was about 2 years old and she was standing in front of a big donut, maybe Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. And she couldn't find her parents. So her parents were missing. She was kind of missing for about 3-4 minutes at the time. But the smell of the donut, the look of the donut went into that trauma. So whenever she smelled donuts, she wanted to vomit. It gave her a bad reaction. And donuts are everywhere. People bring donuts, she wanted to get sick. Well, in that session, she had this replay of this memory she didn't even know she had, where she had lost her parents. She saw the donut. After that session, it was funny. She just emailed me back and she said, Brenda, I'm eating my first donut. I'm 40 years old and I'm enjoying it because that trauma associated left. Sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's bigger things where someone's trying to get pregnant and they can't, and their bodies are apparently fine and this is fine and they're in the fertility things. Well, sometimes when you're doing a session, they'll have a memory where they were 3 years old and they were watching a movie with their parent where someone died during labor. Well, what does that tell your subconscious? Labor can kill me. My body never wants to get pregnant. So the pregnancy issue was just from a trauma of our body being scared of pregnancy or labor. So that released and the person got pregnant shortly after. Again, these things happen by the miracles of the universe, that they're meant to happen at that time. It's not like we're going to fishing to find it. I do sessions where people know, yes, I have this issue, let's go find it. But what I love about beam therapy is where we're taking off layer by layer. So traumas and things are just leaving and everything's just changing. So your allergies go away, your self-confidence issues melt and you're more confident. Suddenly you're standing up for yourself. So life just slowly starts to change for the better. And you can't place it maybe on one thing because it's many things leaving the field. So it's really cool to watch like these things happen.
It's interesting how things do happen to us, but what makes it traumatic or makes it impactful on us, it's our perception, it's the emotional baggage or the emotional turmoil that we attach to it. And it's interesting that you're talking about allergies and phobias, and I experienced that a lot in my work. It could be something really, really simple, and our subconscious mind is simply trying to protect you from the very thing so you don't experience the same emotional pain by giving you a phobia, an allergy, a instant reaction to something. Like
Yeah.
I used to have crazy reactions to water, and that's because in past lives I had drowned so many times. And
There you go. Yeah.
like swimming or doing anything, like I would get terrified. I remember a few weeks ago, like I went kayaking and it just took me a second to like, okay. So I've had many experiences with water from past lives, and it wasn't just one. And because I cleared one and then the next one comes in and I cleared one, and I'm like, I thought I was done with the water. And the fact that it matters, the root cause of a problem could be in one place or it could be in many
Many
lifetimes.
lifetimes. Yeah.
Right.
And the
So
thing
that's
is,
why
we
it's
want,
not easy to say like, oh, is it one time thing, or we're gonna
yeah.
do one session, or we're gonna do 5 sessions. It all depends where the root cause is. Is it coming from accumulation of events, or is just one simple event? So it could be as easy
And
one session as it could be more than
yeah,
one.
it can. That's the thing. Sometimes it's easy, and sometimes that's where my frustration was. Because I'm like, I've done all this work. I spent so much money. Why aren't I getting to the root of my issues? And my guides showed me. They showed me sitting at a desk with layers of paper. And the papers were out of the ceiling. And they said, that issue you have is not just one event, it's like 250,000. So every time you're clearing either one sheet of paper or you're clearing a chunk, but you have a lot to go through because it's not just this lifetime. It's been a repetitive karmic loop
Yeah,
in
it's your
many lifetimes.
ancestors. Yeah, it's not just
Yeah.
you.
So I'm like, oh my. So then they just said, never give up because one day you're going to get to that root. And I did. And it's like, oh, I can feel it. Like I don't have that thought coming up over and over. And my life changed after that. But if I gave up, I would have never got to that bottom, that root. So
Mm.
sometimes the root takes a lot and sometimes it takes a little. And we don't know where we're all coming from. Some of us have been through much traumatic lifetimes. We hold a lot of trauma that needs to be, and then there's others that heal very quickly. But we're all different. So I always say, just be kind to yourself and enjoy your journey. And where you are is perfect and evolving. And the only place you need to be is here and now. That's going to
Mm.
come. We just inch our way to it. So I stop having expectations. I stop setting goals. I just wake up in the morning and say, okay, take me wherever. And then your life just changes in this miraculous
And
place.
that's so opposite from the system that we're taught. Like, make
Yeah.
goals and do something every day and set those things.
Yeah, and then it's very interesting because I was, I used to be a big, and I'm not knocking it because I think it's a phase we all might need to go through. But I used to do the vision boards and I used to do the intentions. I used to do this. And now I realize, yeah, that worked from that perspective. But now I just set the intention, whatever's for my highest good. I'm here to help humanity. Just guide me. I just go with the flow. And whatever experience comes, it's neutral. I'll look at it and I'll take it to the best of my ability. And I usually ask to bring it into a higher vibration because sometimes things come in that are not comfortable. And, I can play with it in the 3D in the lower frequency and go through the confusion and the drama and the fear and this and that. Or I can look at it and say, no, this is neutral. I'm bringing it up. Show me the right things to do and I will stay connected. And they just resolve so much easier. Not to say they're always perfect. There's still uncomfortable feelings there. We're in humanity. We're in duality. People will say, oh, but you have energy. You're an energy worker. My son was in a big accident years ago. And people are like, well, how could that happen to your son when you're an energy worker? I never ever said that, life doesn't happen. What happens is how do you respond to it? How do you grow from it? How do you learn from it? We're living on this planet of confusion, but there's so much love here. What do we want to look at? How do we want to expand? It's just really neat. And it's really a personal thing. So where you are is where you are. I've had to learn and I'm still learning to not worry about the judgment of others. I think I have more people who don't like me now than I did before because I was everything to everyone. I could be the best mom, the best this, the best that. And I just dropped it and I said, I'm going to be me. You like it or you don't.
It's interesting that you're saying that trying to be something for somebody or the question, who am I? I remember personally asking myself that question for many years. And the best answer that I could come up with is that I am an ever changing version of who I was yesterday.
Oh, beautiful.
And when you pick up roles like mom and corporate person, this and this and that, those are only small portions of who you are. The fact that it matters, you're so many things, and you're so many things that you probably haven't even allowed yourself to discover yet because you're too busy spending all the hours of the day playing like this two or three roles. And
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing to open up to that expansiveness. And having said that, I would love for everyone to experience this beautiful magic of this method. Shall we go on a journey?
So what we're going to do is we're going to go into, I'm just going to put the label of it as Reiki because that's what people know. It's just going to be a
Mhm.
Reiki session on steroids. How's that?
Oh,
Uh,
I love that.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
So it's my own, it's my own version of Reiki because when I go into this and they're already starting to come through, everyone's in their own octahedron of light with their own beings of light that are working on their specific things. So although there might be many people watching this now and in the future, time doesn't really matter. You are here, you're going to get your own individual healing. So at this point, what we want to do is get in a comfortable spot. So you can be sitting down, but you want to make sure your legs are not crossed because that energy flow needs to really just kind of be able to move through.
Wow, this is so magical. I remember a moment when we had that bubble of infused with all the energy. I just like placed it on my heart and I felt its presence here. And it's just so amazing to have this tool imprinted on a physical body because I sense this amazing energy of clarity, of pure alignment with the light. And this was such a gift to experience this. And for those of you who are getting the VIP ticket, you'll be able to use this journey over and over again. And it truly felt like a reset of the system, of the physical body, mental body, emotional body, and etheric body.
Yeah, it's working at all levels. It's really, I do this one often myself, but sometimes when I'm busy, I know I'm in this bubble of liquid love, so I just like I want to feel that liquid love, and then
Mm.
this calmness will just come over me and I continue with my day. So you can incorporate the healings in any part of the day and any in your busy times. It's just remembering to do so. It's always
Mhm.
there. You're just tapping into it.
Absolutely. Even sometimes, like if I get busy and there's a journey, like we don't always have that hour or 30 minutes to just lay down and turn off, shut off the life and experience that. So even playing something like that in the background while you're focusing on something else, it's quite a magical. Like every time I have to write something or I work on a project, I play journeys in the background and it just creates that vortex of channeling and puts me in that theta state. We can use this kind of modalities, this channelings for all kinds of stuff for healing and also for empowering you while you're doing other things. I just always advise don't do any form of meditation or healing work when you're driving or operating machinery because it does place you in that hypnagogic state, that amazing energy that you're probably sensing right now from me and Brenda just by going through this journey. It's always magical. I remember watching interviews, I always see the first part, and it's like there's some about humanness, and after a journey, everything just aligns, settles, slows down, and it feels like we have all the time in the world to do everything that we need to do. It feels like we have all the magic in the world and all the gifts and everything that we need. We already have.
It's
It's
such a
magical.
lovely state to be in that we want to be in there all the time. But it's that's the the 3D part of us that goes in and out of it, and we just be kind with ourselves where we're at.
Yeah. And I don't know if you experience this, but every time I do a journey or a meditation or a guided group, I can't eat food probably for at least several hours, sometimes for the entire day. It's like I just think of food. I'm like, I don't need that. So it's
Yeah,
very, very interesting. I don't know if you experience that, but
I
every time, like
experienced
even doing
that,
this interviews, like I can't eat for the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm so full. I don't need anything.
but excessively thirsty. I drink.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, and
Having said
that's
that,
yeah, and the one thing when we do these type of things and the energies continue to work, I would say don't be worried if you're drinking tremendous amounts of water for the next 5 days and wake up thirsty in the middle of the night. That's just part of the healing. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, something's happening." No, just drink that water. It's part of the cleansing. Yeah.
yeah, always pace yourself. Don't like overdo it then. Because your body does need time to adjust to anytime you upgrade your energy field, your body does need time to adjust. So
Yeah, and if you do move too quickly, your body's going to let you know. You might get rashes, or you may almost feel sick because you just like, I need that resting time. So you're right.
mhm.
I've tried rushing and I'm just like, oh, every time I rush, this happens. So why did it even bother?
This is so beautiful, such a magical gift. And I feel the most grateful to have experienced this one on one. And the beauty of this work that the time, the space doesn't really matter whether you're listening to this right now or you're listening to this 3 years from now. The energy, the power actually amplifies the more people listen, the more we quantify this energy. And as we do this for ourselves, we do this for our families, for every person that is lucky enough to be in our lives, and every person that we're lucky enough to be in their lives. And the work continues. Brenda, is there anything else you'd like to share with our group before the end of this beautiful journey?
Thank you so much again. So just love yourself where you are. You're perfect and evolving. And life's a journey. So it's the ups and downs. And eventually it just gets a little bit less downs, more ups, but enjoy it.
Embark on your journey and really enjoy your ride. It truly
Thank you.
is a soul journey that we all go on. And the fact that you are here today listening, that means you're part of the same soul tribe. The fact that we're all here doing this together, that means we somewhere, somehow in a past life, sign up a contract to meet and help each other through this journey. So, welcome, beautiful soul. If this is your first, your second, or your sixth session with us. We love you, we appreciate you, and we're here for you until the next time.